Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T, and I hope you guys are having a great day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Saturday, November 12th, the Vandals were preparing for a home game against the UC Davis Aggies. The temperature was 28 degrees when the game kicked off. In fact, there was an ice fog hanging in the air. The low at midnight was between 27 and 28 degrees Fahrenheit. It was cold. Makes you wonder what the perpetrator was wearing. The roads were snowy and icy. The Vandals lost the game, but that didn't keep students from hitting the bars in town. The multi-level rental home at 1122 King Road was just 2 blocks from the edge of campus. Moscow, Idaho, is a quintessential small rural college town. Set on more than 1,600 acres, the University of Idaho sees 11,500 students come and go every week of the school year. So many students in a total population of 25,000 people means there are students pretty much everywhere, student housing on nearly every street, and fraternity and sorority houses on nearly every corner. Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, and Xana Cornado's rental home at 1122 King Road was one of the student houses closest to the campus. Built against a hill, the residence was known for hosting parties. Not big blowout bashes, mind you, but rather small, intimate wine gatherings. The abode had no security cameras, which could have added another layer of security. There were some exterior lights, including at least one on the back patio. By the way, according to neighbors of that house, that area is pitch black at night, so much so that they wear headlamps when they walk their dogs after dark. All 5 young women living there were reportedly well-liked and popular. Most of them were in sororities, and Xana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was also in a fraternity. The Sigma Chi frat house is visible from the girls' house. To get there, all you need to do is walk down a hill, across a road and a lawn, and up another hill. It's the same story from the girls' house. It's walkable from King Road. Of course, in the winter, when bitterly cold winds blow, those who can afford to call Ubers for a ride. And that's exactly what Kaylee and Maddie did Saturday night. They got a ride to a downtown sports bar called the Corner Club. This bar is so well rooted in the community that it has its own party bus. This bar is also said to be popular with fraternity and sorority students. Madison, Xana, and one other roommate were members of Pi Beta Phi. Kaylee had pledged with Alpha Phi. That Saturday night, Kaylee and Maddie were dressed casually. Maddie was wearing stonewashed ripped jeans and an Idaho sweatshirt. Maddie sported jeans and a pink sweatshirt. The 2 best friends spent from 10:20 to 1:45 a.m. at the corner bar, where, according to another bar-goer, they attracted quite a bit of attention from the male bar-goers. After leaving the corner club, they walked to the Grub Bus on Main Street. Late-night bar-goers with the munchies often hit up this popular food truck. After getting their order, Maddie and Kaylee got into a car, which her family says was an Uber, but the media keeps reporting it as a private car. I have heard that it was a red Mustang. Either way, the two girls got a ride from the grub bus and arrived home at exactly 1:56 a.m. The authorities are saying that the crime likely went down between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. How exactly things played out, we don't yet know. Chris McDonough of the interview room went to the address and took a closer look. In the back of the girls' rental home, Chris spotted and photographed a concrete block with another concrete square on top of it. These concrete blocks were right under the back kitchen window. There was also a screen lying on the ground there. Could the perpetrator have used those blocks to climb up through that window to get in? It seems so likely that the perpetrator accessed the house from the back, where it was woody. By the way, Chris McDonough discovered a black rubber glove near the property's dumpsters, and in case you're worried, he did not touch it. Instead, he pointed it out to the Moscow police, and then they came and photographed and collected it. Some people are now speculating that the students' bedroom doors, and by students here, I'm referring to the 4 students who lost their lives. Some are speculating that their bedroom doors were closed and locked on Sunday morning when the surviving roommates woke up and got up. This would explain why the unharmed survivors thought someone was unconscious. If they could not see into the room and were just calling out a name, they may have thought that was the case. They certainly would never have jumped to the conclusion that a crime of this magnitude had occurred in the house they were sleeping in. But it is hard to believe that there would not have been any of the red stuff that runs through all our veins outside those doors or on the floor. So if the police who arrived that Sunday morning did in fact find the bedroom doors closed and locked, could that have been done by the perpetrator to buy extra time, meaning to keep the surviving students from discovering that a crime had been committed that night? The perpetrator was probably very keen on keeping that crime under wraps until he, she, or they could get out of the house and get as far away as possible from it so as not to be caught leaving. Switching to another topic, I now want to talk about the article that was used to commit the crime. We've been led to believe that the same instrument was used on all 4 students. This means that the red liquid from the first person would have then been commingled with that of the second victim, and so on as the perpetrator moved from student to student. Such commingling, if it did occur, should allow the investigators to determine who was attacked first, who was attacked second, who was attacked third, and who was attacked last. It will be very important for the investigators to figure this order out, as it could reveal if one student was the primary target. The perpetrator, if he or she or they had one target, would likely have headed straight to that person. He, she, or they would have wanted to get to that business right away, right out of the gate, because it would have been the main reason for stepping into other people's home uninvited with a large object designed to cut. I feel confident saying that because the coroner has said each student had multiple wounds and they were concentrated in the upper torso and chest. Whoever did this wasn't playing. Whoever did this came to 1122 King Road with a very dark mission. The investigators will also want to know which student had the most wounds. The number of wounds will be another detail that will help them determine if any one of the students was the primary target. If one person had 20 extra wounds than everyone else, then it's more likely that that person was the target. Now, why would any of these bright, beautiful young people have engendered such rage? That's the number one question. Was it down to revenge? Was someone holding a grudge? Was someone jealous for some reason? Or was this the work of a serialist? Most experts are saying that there's no way a first-time offender would be able to take on 4 people in that manner. I've also heard several criminal profilers say that the perpetrator is likely a male, and he's been thinking about this for some time. The police said the perpetrator was messy, but so far, whoever is responsible for this shocking crime has flown under the radar. He, she, or they has not been caught, even after leaving behind a red-soaked crime scene. You can bet the perpetrator knew where there were surveillance cameras, which point of entry to the house would be best for avoiding detection when the students had finally settled in to sleep, the best route out of the area and away from the home, and how to erase all signs of the crime off of his, her, or their body and clothes. That screams planning and premeditation. I don't really see this as a last-minute, harried decision. To me, it would have been impossible to not get caught from the jump had this not been planned. There are simply too many other students living near that rental home, and I'm sure there were plenty of students who tend to stay up late at night, especially on Saturday nights, in the vicinity that evening. No, this person had a plan and seized the moment when he, she, or they felt detection would likely not occur. I also wanted to talk just a little bit about how the perpetrator would have been in contact with the students. If he or she or they needed to steady themselves, they would have put one hand either on the student's body or the bed. That would have been to steady themselves. That could leave trace DNA evidence behind. Trace DNA evidence could also be on the staircase rail up to the 3rd floor. If the crime scene really indicated a sloppy perpetrator, which the authorities have said, then there is a good chance that DNA was left behind in the way of the red stuff that runs through all our veins, hair fibers, fingerprints, and so on. I'm hoping that this is the case, and it will take a certain amount of time to check all that red stuff, especially because this was a party house, so a lot of people probably had been in and out of that place. All of that leaves a trail. Until the next time, on Bed Crime Stories, do me a favor, smash that like button.